Hello, what's up, folks? It's Will back once again. We're back for another UFC fight card prediction from the PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. We've got Curtis Razor Blaydes against Cigano Jr. Dos Santos in the main event. Looking forward to getting into this card. Obviously, coming off UFC 246. Went 6-5 with my picks, not great. I'm going to be leaving them in the drop down box throughout the year. I know some people have wanted to keep track of my picks. I'm going to try and put them in there for every event, and then I'll do one at the end of the month and recapping the rest of the month. So, yeah, if you can, please like, comment, subscribe. I'm trying to get some more subs, so if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, I'm here talking UFC fight card every week, breaking down. And just talking fights. So yeah, please hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you like that there. So like I say, coming off UFC 246, it was a big card. McGregor was obviously back. I kind of did a little review of that earlier on today, but now I'm here to talk about this card, which I'm really looking forward to really getting into. There's some nice spots. I think I've got two bets already. There might be another bet that I'm going to put on. And yeah, just looking forward to really getting into this fight card. So we're starting down in the featherweight division with two newcomers. First fight in the UFC. We've got Herbert Burns against Nate the Train Landwehr. This is going to be a fun fight. If you've never seen Landwehr like fight in the fight at all, I shouldn't say in the UFC because he's never fought, but this guy is like crazy fun to watch fight. He really is. Someone, what's up, David? I see Kiro. What's up, mate? 13-2 record. Was the M1 champion. Now the UFC, I think they did a deal where that if you win or retain your belt twice, you pretty much get an automatic UFC contract, and that's what Nate Landwehr did. But this guy is fun. I only kind of heard him a little bit before I'd seen one of his fights, but if you go back and watch his fights, my goodness, this guy is an absolute terror to watch. Kind of breaking him down. The one thing that really jumped out is his aggressiveness and his cardio. He has got some serious cardio and some serious pressure. But with that pressure comes a lot of kind of openings for his opponent to really get at him. Obviously, going over to Russia, fighting 3-4 times, however many times it was, he's fighting decent guys with decent records, really tough, hard-nosed Russians over there. A high punch and strike rate, throws everything into his punches, but he can do that because his cardio is so good. But he can also be hit with big shots as well. Extremely hittable is Nate Landwehr. Doesn't mind taking one to really give a shot. Really good kind of recoverability, durability is what I should say. Often coming back to kind of really outwork his opponents, really pretty much. And maybe finish them later on in the fight. I didn't like his takedown defense, and that's obviously a big if coming into this fight against Herbert Burns. That is obviously he's got a lot of like jiu-jitsu skills. But he has been wobbled a few times. I'm just looking at some things that I wrote up on him, and yeah, it's just again in this fight here, it could be like I'll come out and say I bet Nate Landwehr already, and I bet him as an underdog. He's now the favourite, but sitting back here, I think I maybe made a mistake going in. I think I watched his fights and I was so engrossed in his fights. I thought him as an underdog. This was a few days I bet him that I should really just jump on and bet him now. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should have kind of laid back and just sat back and watched this fight, because when you look at Herbert Burns, he's got all the things here that can maybe win him this fight. He can get to the back. He's got great jiu-jitsu. His striking's not bad. He's got a reach advantage. But I think he can maybe be broken by the non-stop striking of this guy who is just crazy. But there's so many openings against him, and I've seen his back being taken more than once as well. And against Herbert Burns, that's something that you have to be very careful against. Came through the Contender Series. Like I say, his bread and butter is jiu-jitsu. It's been a Gilbert Burns' like brother. You're going to have that skill set there. I don't think his striking's all that bad. I don't think his wrestling's strong, but I think against someone like Nate that he can get takedowns and find his way to positions. So him potentially winning this fight in the first round via submission would not surprise me, pretty much. But when I watch Nate, I think that he's so scrappy, but it's a great fight. I'm really looking forward to this fight. Burns can get, I think he's very good at getting the back, and also getting the body triangle is something that he really gets. And I think most of his wins are via rear naked choke, if I remember off the top of my head. But I do think he is very hittable. I still think he's very green. Good punches, some fairly decent kicks, kind of spams the high kicks a little bit. And he kind of uses them really to close distance to get into the clinch where he can look for a takedown. Like I say, he could win this fight. He really, really could. I think that if he was to find the back, I think he could probably submit Nate Landwehr. But I like what I see from Nate. I'm going to pick him. I'm going to pick him via TKO in the middle part of this fight. So I've got Nate Landwehr to win via TKO in round number 2. Second fight on the card. Brett Johns makes his return, the Pikey from down there in Wales, as he faces off against another UFC newcomer in Tony Gravely here. And I'm going to come out and say I'm picking Brett Johns, and I've already bet Brett Johns. I bet him 4, 5, maybe even 6 days ago. I don't even know. He was the underdog, and I cannot get my head around. What's up, guys? I see you in the chat there. I can't get my head around why he was the underdog to this guy. I can't get my head around it. When I look at Tony Gravely, he's only been a pro for just over 4 years, and he's accumulated 24 fights, I want to say it is, in that time. And he's got a 19-5 record. In all fairness, his losses are to really good fighters. I think Patrick Mix over in Bellator, a great fighter. Devilishvili in the UFC is a hard fighter to face. Ricky Bandejas over in Bellator isn't a bad fighter. There's probably someone else I'm forgetting as well, but he's fought decent kind of UFC caliber fighters, but each time I think he's been stopped in that fight there. When you look at his skill set, Tony Gravely, he is a wrestler who's pretty athletic, quite fast, but he leaves openings. I've seen it. He's Dana White Contender Series fight against Ray Rodriguez. He left his back there to be got, and Ray Rodriguez was trying to get submissions. And he just gives you openings. I think it was the James Quigg fight, who was only 3 fights into his career, got the back numerous times, nearly caught him in a straight armbar. Brett Johns has accumulated, he's been injured. I think the reason maybe that people have been more heavily on Tony Gravely is the fact that he's been out injured, but this guy's been asking for fights since May and just not been matched up. He did an interview with my MMA Huddle co-presenter, John there, where he's been asking for fights and just not got them at all. So he's been fit and ready to go, he's just not been matched up. In that time he's been off, I believe he's been working with Jack Shore, who I think is a great MMA grappler, a really good grappler. That I think he's on the level of what Tony Gravely is with his wrestling. Maybe as a pure wrestler, Tony's better, but as an MMA grappler, I think Jack Shore is better. And like I say, he's got his black belt in that time. You look at his 2 losses, Brett Johns. Aljamain Sterling, Pedro Munoz, 2 top 5 guys at bantamweight. They're not bad losses, and even in the Munoz fight, he had his spot early on in that fight, but eventually Pedro just started brutalising him. In the Aljo fight, he took Aljamain down. So, I mean, this guy's got some chops about him as well. I personally think Brett Johns will take this guy down. Either that, he will sweep him and get in a position where I think he can submit Tony Gravely. I really, really do. I think this is a good opportunity for Brett to rebound after those 2 losses against a guy who, like I say, he's only been a pro for 4 years. Brett Johns in that time was winning Cage Warriors titles. He was winning Titan FC titles. Thank you. Hit the like button if you can, guys. I like Brett Johns here, and I'm going to pick him via submission in the very... I was going to say the first round. I'm going to go the second round. I think that Tony might get a takedown, but I think, seeing what I've seen from fighters not in the calibre of Brett Johns, they get back to their feet against this guy. So I've got Brett Johns, second round submission. Women's bantamweight division, Sara McMann against Lina Lansberg. 2 girls I pretty have much... I pick Lina Lansberg's fights very badly, and I think that she's already out the door, and then she completely turns it around and gets some big wins. Sara McMann is a girl that I've bet on in the past and been successful in the past, but you cannot trust her at all. Both girls are in their late 30s. Sara McMahon's come back, I think, after nearly a 2-year layoff after having another kid. That's always sketchy. But Sara McMahon's got some definite parts of her game which are very, very strong, and if she can get to like a top position. She's very strong up there with her ground and pound. She's got some really strong submissions, but I feel she's only got one round in it, and then she starts to not quitting herself. And you've got someone like Lansberg who is very durable, takes a lot of damage, can eat it, and keep on coming. So for me, I'm going to pick Lina Lansberg. I pick her fights terribly, so I'm probably expecting Sara McMann to come out here, probably get into top position, the mount, and absolutely rain down ground and pound here, probably in the first round. But I don't trust Sara McMann in the slightest. I've bet against her before and won some good money against her. Lina is a sexy chick, I must admit. I've seen her a few times. She's a nice looking lass. So yeah, I'm going to go Lina Lansberg via decision here. I cannot trust Sara McMann, but it wouldn't surprise me if she comes out, gets top position, maybe batters on her a little bit and maybe gets a stoppage. But I'm going to pick Lina Lansberg. I've got no faith in Sara McMann, and like you guys in the chat are saying, she is a fade. Montel Jackson against Felipe Colares. I like Montel here. I think this is good matchmaking. We've not seen this guy since April. And the big thing that I'm looking forward to seeing, I think this is going to be a big year for Montel Jackson. I think in that spot, in those 8 months that he's been away, I think he's going to make big advantages in his game. I think his striking's going to get better. He's already long for the division. I remember Brian Kelleher saying he's got some of the biggest hands that he's ever fought against. Comes from the southpaw stance. He's got a reach advantage of about 5 or 6 inches, I think it is, in this fight here. And I definitely think he's got a grappling advantage. When you watch Colares' fights in the UFC, the Pilarte one, he get taken down. I don't think Pilarte even really fought a good fight there. But the Geraldo de Freitas fight, he got taken down numerous times. He got passed numerous times. And I think Montel Jackson, if he was to get those opportunities on the ground, I really do think he would submit him. I think he can piece him up at distance. I think he's got an advantage with the striking. I think he's got an advantage with the ground game. I think his length would be massive down on the ground with his triangles, and just like even if he's got into the half mount, he could rain shots with his ground and pound. I'm expecting a lot from Montel Jackson in 2020. I think this is a good matchup for him. So yeah, I'm going to go Montel Jackson. I'm going to go submission, actually. I like a fair few submissions in this card here, but I've got Montel Jackson via stoppage. I'll go a first round submission. Why not? I'll go for a first round stoppage. Moving on, we have Justine Kish against Lucie Pudilova. I think this is going to be a good fight. I think it's going to be sloppy. I think it's going to be messy, but I think it's going to be action-packed from the get-go. And both girls, I feel, could be fighting for their job in the UFC, their position in the UFC here. Pudilova's always in a fun fight, and Kish is, she's been away for a couple of years, don't know what she's been up to, whether she's had a family, started a family, or she's been injured or so on. But like I say, I think this is going to be a good fight, a lot of action, but ultimately I see Lucie Pudilova winning, and not super confident, but when I look at Lucie Pudilova, both girls are pretty much high volume kind of Muay Thai strikers, pretty much. But I think Pudilova kind of brings more to the table. She's got more height, she's got more reach, hits harder. I think that aside from like the striking, I think Pudilova could probably get takedowns here. I think she is a better grappler. Not that she's a great grappler, but when you look at Kish, like the fight against Herrig, she got taken down, and Felice, she's a veteran of the sport, she's been around for a long time, dominated her with her grappling. I don't think Pudilova's on that level, but if I was Pudilova fighting for my job here, I know she likes to get out there, have a scrap, she's always bloodied up, but I think if she fights smart here, mixes in her takedowns with her striking, which I think she's going to throw more strikes and land more strikes here, and mix it in with the takedown, I really think this could be a good fight for her. I think she could really dominate someone like Kish. I still think it's very green, very raw, can be outstruck. Like the Ji Young Kim fight, she was outstruck pretty much. Like I say, a messy fight. I'm never super confident in fights like these, but when I see Pudilova, I like watching her fight. She's a fun girl to watch fight. I think Kish is going to get a match on papers here. I think that Pudilova will beat her over 3 rounds. I think it'll be a lot of fun. The Aldana fight was obviously a fight I really liked looking into. Aldana was that technical fighter, but you had the scrappiness of Pudilova. Yeah, I've got Lucie Pudilova via decision here, so I've got that one. Lucie via decision. This is a fight that's been through together in the last week. Arnold Allen against Nick Lentz. A couple of red flags in this one for me. Obviously, Nick Lentz moving back down to 145, where he's not been in 5 years, I want to say. That's a red flag. But on Arnold Allen's side here, I think this could be a tough fight. If Nick Lentz does a really good weight cut, everything goes fine. This, for me, could be a little bit of a sketch fight for Arnold Allen, even though he's looked very, very good, and I'm a big fan of Arnold Allen. Nick Lentz has some grappling. He's kind of started to show more of his striking, because I think he's been at Hard Knocks 365, and his striking's came a long way. But he's a guy, a dangerous veteran, and we've seen Arnold Allen on occasions being taken down, predominantly by Mads Burnell. Mads Burnell really took him down, dominated him, but Arnold Allen kept on fighting, got that beautiful front choke in the 3rd round, and he squeaked that one. He was on his way to losing. I think that was in the last 2 minutes of the fight as well. He obviously came out against Melendez. I picked Melendez in that fight. Bad pick. Probably my worst pick of last year. I thought the betting odds were a little bit off. I thought that maybe Melendez could make a closer fight. Arnold Allen dictated range, absolutely smashed him up with his speed and his jab, and he can do that. Sometimes he can fight a little bit passive, and what I mean by that is that he goes to decision. Buffalo's just said that he can go to decision. I think he can push himself more and get finishes, especially against guys like Jordan Rinaldi. If you want to make a splash at featherweight, you need to be getting finished against guys like that. You really do. And he's a guy that's been in the UFC for nearly 5 years, and still not a lot of people know about who Arnold Allen is. I think he can mix in. I think he can maybe get takedowns. He took Amir Khani down 2 or 3 times, but if he does that, he has to be very, very careful, because Lentz has some chokes there. He's obviously got some takedowns. He took Charles Oliveira down, so he's dangerous. But I think Nick Lentz making the cut to 145 against someone, Allen, who I think if he really listens to Firas Zahabi, he could be a strong fighter in this division and be a ranked fighter. Ultimately, that's where I think he will end up. And he's quietly coming through there, but he needs a step up in calibre and opposition. I thought the Josh Emmett fight was a very good fight. I actually thought Josh Emmett could maybe probably win that fight, honestly. I obviously prefer Arnold to win the fight because he's such a cool dude and he's a really good guy to be around. But I've got Arnold Allen here. I've got him via another decision. In fact, no, I'm not going to pick him via decision. I'm going to pick another stoppage. So I'm going to pick Arnold Allen, make a statement, come out here, get a win, get a stoppage. Arnold Allen, 3rd round, TKO is going to be my pick in that one there. And the headline fight of the prelims, we've got Bevon Lewis 6-2 against Dequan Townsend, who's like 21-9. So, a guy that ultimately came in very, very, very short notice against Dalcha champion. I thought he gave a good account against him, but ultimately ended up losing the fight. A very, very tough veteran journeyman who, I think there was stories out last week that he tested positive for cocaine and fentanyl and all types of different but he's been on some things. But I think he's a very hard-nosed, tough guy to face, and you've got someone with not that much experience in Bevon Lewis who maybe fades a little bit as the fight goes on. This guy's got some power in his hands. I'm seeing people out here saying Bevon Lewis, max bets, and he really should, but I think you should throw a little bit more respect on Townsend's name for the fact that he's a grizzled vet, been around a long time, fought some okay guys. He's actually fought the guy who's next up in the card, Jamahal Hills. So I think this fight could be closer than what the odds indicate, personally. Bevon Lewis, he was winning that fight with Rafael before getting knocked out in the 3rd round, and then lost his next fight as well. Big fight for him. Really think he needs to come out here, get this W. But I think Townsend could maybe make it tougher than initially he probably would have been. But I'm going to pick Bevon Lewis via decision. But I've got a funny feeling Townsend might just make this fight a little bit closer than what the odds indicate, personally. So I've got Bevon Lewis via decision there. Like I say, moving on to light heavyweight position in the televised main card here, we've got Jamahal Hill against Darko Stosic. I mean, that was an absolute shit show. Darko Stosic against Kennedy Nzechukwu. I mean, he just ended up kicking the guy in the sack 3 times, I think it was. Got a couple of points taken away. Was on his way to losing that fight regardless, because he was getting, I think he got taken down a few times there. But his stock's completely fallen for me. Before he came into the UFC, I thought he could have a decent UFC run. He came in there, beat Jeremy Kimball, then he lost to Devin Clark, lost to Kennedy Nzechukwu. I mean, that's not great losses to have in your record. You've got Jamahal Hill, I think, 6-0, coming off the Dana White Contender Series. Long, got some athletic traits to his game. I like what it seemed like. I say he beat Dequan Townsend beforehand. Stosic, to me, he really fades after the first round. Now, he's got some really big, brutal leg kicks, and he is a counter striker by trade. And he might be able to get inside the reach a little bit and maybe catch him with some counter strikes and maybe hurt him. But over the course of 15 minutes, I think Jamahal Hill can actually stop this guy. Darko Stosic for this camp, he's left the Crow Cop camp. It's harder to say. He's left that camp and he's went to Team Elevation, the home of Curtis Blaydes, Neil Magny, Corey Sandhagen. So that's interesting. So maybe he's went to work on his conditioning. So he might be a little bit more live throughout the fight. And he's obviously got a little bit more experience than what Hill has here. But I've got no real confidence in picking Stosic. I think that he's going to get his marching papers here. I think we'll see him back out here in the European circuits. I've got Hill. I've got him via maybe a stoppage in the later part of this fight. I do like what I see from Hill. I think he's got a lot of potential to move on and be a fairly decent fighter in the division. So yeah, I'm going to pick Hill. In fact, I'll go a decision. I'll go decision Hill for win. A decision win for Hill there. Moving on, we've got Hannah Cifers against Angela Hill. And ultimately, when I look at this fight, I know that Hill's coming in here on short notice. Can I just say thank you to the guys in the chat and for the likes? I really do appreciate that, guys. This should be a fight that Angela Hill should be relatively comfortable in my opinion. When I do look at the fight, I think that she's got a lot of advantages in this fight. I think she's taller, she's longer, she's got more reach. I think she's better fighting off the back foot. And I think that when you look at Hannah Cifers, she lacks range. She's got some power, but I think that her footwork's not great. She's very she stands in there and is there to be hit. Now, like I say, if you stand and you want to swing with Cifers, then you could be in trouble. But someone like Angela Hill, who can be on her bike, move around, I think that if the lack of pressure from Cifers will also help Hill not go out so much, because she's not getting hit with shots and not getting taken down, defending takedowns and so on. And like I say, Cifers has no real range and doesn't have the ability to really cover distance all that well. So the length and the volume of Angela Hill, to me, is going to be the big thing in this fight here. I mean, I was actually thinking about betting her, but then it's Angela Hill, and I know, I don't know, I just think this is a favourable matchup. It might be someone that ultimately I end up maybe parlaying. I know she's minus 163, but I can maybe beef up a parlay with maybe someone else later on in the card that I talk about in that spot. So, but I think Cifers is from the area, North, South Carolina. I don't know whereabouts it is, but she can maybe have the hometown crowd with her. So she might, if this fight was close, she might get the judge's decision. That's the only way I can really see her winning this fight, unless she knocks Hill out, which is possible, obviously, in a fight. But I've got Angela Hill. I've got her to win this one, maybe 30-27, 29-28. I've got Angela Hill winning that fight there. So, yeah. Jordan Espinoza against Alex Perez is up next in the flyweight division. Initially, when I thought about this fight, I thought maybe Espinoza's maybe got a chance here. But the more I looked into it, I thought, right, if Perez has a decent cut, I think that he really wins. I do think he really wins this fight. I think that he's better across a variety of different spots in this fight. When I look at Espinoza, the two things that I liked was I think he's got some pretty good athleticism, and I think he can do some different things with his left hand. He's got a decent left hook. But outside of that, I don't like his gas tank. I think he fades considerably. I think when you look at Perez, I think he's very defensively sound in a lot of areas, good striking, with pressure, can come after you. He's got some pop in his shots as well. Got some good low kicks, better cardio, better wrestler, better jiu-jitsu game. And when you look at Perez's game outside the UFC and even in Dana White Contender Series, he got a submission there. I think if he gets this fight to the ground, and we've seen that Espinoza was taken out last fight by Matt Schnell via submission, that he could sub this guy. I ultimately think that's where the fight's going to take place, is that he's going to get the fight to the ground, land some heavy ground and pound, and I think he's going to get a submission. He's got some anaconda chokes on his record. I think he'll mix it up. I really do. I think that he'll beat him on the feet. Just avoid that left hand. Don't be super uber aggressive and walk yourself into a shot, that left hand or whatever. And I think he should mix it up and evidently get the submission kind of late part of this fight. So I'm going to go Perez second round submission for me. It's going to be, I've got Perez to win that one there. Moving on, the co-main event. This is an interesting fight as well. Rafael dos Anjos, the former UFC lightweight champion, long-time veteran, long-time UFC fighter, against Michael Chiesa, who's looked decent since moving up to 170. In my opinion, though, when I look at this fight, RD should really win this fight across a variety of different areas. The one thing that kind of scares me, though, is the physicality of someone like Michael Chiesa, and that's pretty much what he's got here. He needs to be physical and get in close, push Rafael dos Anjos against the cage and work for takedowns there. But then you're working against a guy in RDA who's never been submitted. A long-time veteran of the sport, a black belt himself, never been submitted. Is Michael Chiesa the type of guy that could come in there and do that? Possibly. But when you look at Chiesa, like, he can get you down, but once you get back to his feet, he doesn't like... he just doesn't like being hit. He's seen that in the Pettis fight, so ultimately gets the Pettis fight to the ground. Can't keep Pettis there for a long part of that fight. And then once it gets back to his feet, he's doing everything he can to just get back to that clinch, get back to being aggressive, trying to get you to the ground, and then he can take shots. And RD is pretty decent in the clinch. He showed that he's very, very aggressive in the clinch, and he can be. And he's faced guys with stifling pressure before. Recently, guys like Covington, Usman they've got far more pressure and far more striking prowess than what Michael Chiesa has. Michael Chiesa, like, he gets fearful, I think, once it gets into a striking battle. And when you look at RD, he's got better combination striking. He has better leg kicks. I think that Chiesa's going to be trying to dive into clinch, and I think ultimately he's going to start getting hit by shots, and he's going to start backing off, and RD is going to start prepping up a little bit. RD is just a solid fighter. He has been on his run before getting the title, smashed Pettis, and like, he's fought the best guys and never looked out of place against those best guys. I mean, your Covington, your Usman. You know, I know he got dominated, but Lawler. Who else am I thinking of? I'm probably forgetting a couple of guys, but yeah, he's solid. At this division, he's a gatekeeper, obviously. And I think there's a narrow path to victory for Chiesa, and that's going to be submission. I just don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he's going to control RD enough, in my opinion, to do that. So, for me, someone said there, when was the last time that dos Anjos someone? That's been a while ago, but he could possibly break Chiesa down where Chiesa just doesn't do anything. He gets into a position where he can maybe stop him. Ultimately, I've got Rafael dos Anjos via decision. I think if you got on the line of dos Anjos, I think he was like minus 200 at one point, or minus 220. That's not a bad line. I think he's a parlay piece. Like, I was talking about Angela Hill, maybe you put RDA and Angela Hill together. That's got a beefy kind of parlay to it, so that's something I might look at. But ultimately, my fight pick here is going to be Rafael dos Anjos via decision. And the main event of the night, we have big heavyweights. Curtis Razor Blaydes against Cigano, Junior dos Santos. Interesting matchup, but ultimately, my pick is going to be Curtis Blaydes. And I'll tell you why. You've got dos Anjos, a guy that's been in the UFC for 12 plus years, and you know what his striking, you know what his skill set is predominantly based around. It's his boxing, and he's got some kicks in there as well. And he's actually, I think, got some pretty good takedown defense, but he's not really faced a guy in a long time that is like Curtis Blaydes, who will go for takedown after takedown and will chain wrestle until he gets those takedowns, and once he gets you there, he can hurt you. Not saying he can't get back to his feet, because you watch the Mark Hunt fight. I think he took him down like 8 to 10 times, and Mark Hunt, who's got very little grappling at all, got back to his feet, but ultimately got taken down, got passed a lot. Dos Santos might have the opportunity to get back to his feet. He might actually stop more takedowns than what a Mark Hunt would. When you go back through Dos Santos, there's no point in looking at fights where he's against Tuivasa or Ivanov, in my opinion. You have to go and find those fights against really good wrestlers. And you're obviously going to look at Miocic, and you're going to look at Cain Velasquez. So he knocked out Cain Velasquez in the first fight. They did the rematch. And that fight was won by Cain Velasquez with his with his takedown offense. He took him down numerous amounts of times in that fight. Dos Santos got back to his feet, but ultimately Cain would keep taking the fight to the ground. Blaydes is of that ilk where he can do that, and he can do that over a vast array of rounds, in my opinion. And he's got far more bigger ground and pound than what Cain Velasquez has. Now, if this fight was to stay standing, which I don't think it will, Dos Santos will obviously have an advantage with his good boxing, with his kicks. He's really good at with his movement with his feet, and he's going to have to use that here against Blaydes, because Blaydes is going to look to use his striking to really get those explosive takedowns, which he can get. We've seen Blaydes knocked out, but I don't think Dos Santos has got that touch of death that Francis Ngannou's got. I really don't. I don't think he's got that touch of death. He's got good boxing, he can knock you out, but I think he would take an accumulation against Curtis Blaydes to really get him out. But he's a heavyweight, he hits big, and we've seen him knock out guys in the past. Blaydes, to me, I think he's going to really come after Dos Santos and try and get those takedowns. And even if he doesn't get them, he's going to really wear out Dos Santos, chain wrestling. And initially, he might not get those takedowns, but I think he will. If he doesn't take any big shots, I think Dos Santos' takedown defense is 80%. Which is decent, but he's not fought a lot of kind of elite wrestlers outside of Miocic, who's got wrestling, who took him down I think once in their fight, and then there's the Velasquez fight, which I mentioned, which was numerous takedowns. So Blaydes, to me, I think once he gets him there, and especially if he gets him on his back, I think his ground and pound is going to absolutely wreck Dos Santos if that happens. But he has to get that position. He has to get him away from the cage, get in a position where he's in half guard. We've seen in the Overeem fight that he can throw really dangerous, vicious elbows from the top there. And once he lands the one shot, it's pretty much done. He will start to fade off. And I think that initially he will do that. He will beat Junior Dos Santos via ground and pound in the third round. So, like I say, that's my pick. I see a little bit of merit with Dos Santos at the odds he's at. He's like plus 200, I want to say. Let me check that out, actually. Plus 205. In a heavyweight fight, you never know which way that could go. He could land a big shot in the first minute and maybe hurt him. I don't think he's got the power to do that. He's more of a accumulation kind of striker with his boxing, and then he can take you out. But we have seen him one-punch guys like Velasquez and so on in the past. Verdum and so on, former champions. I just think that Blaydes' wrestling is going to be too much here. He's going to get that signature win against a former UFC champion, and he's going to push himself into getting a shot, depending on what way the heavyweight division is going to be, the way it's going to go with DC and Stipe, and obviously Ngannou's right next in line for that fight. So yeah, that's my picks, guys. So I've got Blaydes, I've got Dos Anjos, I've got Perez, I've got Angela Hill, I've got Jamahal Hill, I've got Bevon Lewis, Arnold Allen, Lucie Pudilova, Montel Jackson, Lina Lansberg, Brett Johns, and Nate Landwehr. That's my picks. I will make sure I put down the timestamps. I'll put down my most confident picks, least confident picks, and I'll put down my previous week's results there as well. So, guys, the next event that's coming out is going to be UFC 247, John Jones. I will have my early insight video this weekend. I always do it 2 weeks beforehand. Then on fight week, I will give you my predictions for that fight card. I've already got one bet for that card. I looked into one fight, which I thought the odds were a little bit off, and I put a bet down. So if you follow my bet me tips, you'll already see who I bet for 247 already. Like I say, 2 bets already. I've got Brett Johns and Nate Landwehr. But until next time, guys, if you could hit that thumbs up, if you're new to the channel and you've came all the way through this video, please subscribe. I'm trying to grow my channel as much as I can. Buffo, you're the man, you're my man, brother. So all the very, very best. Until next time, peace.